We're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's Business Power Hour. I'm really excited for our guest today. I have Brittany and Candace here. We're going to have a conversation about balancing the passionate side of your business and the things that we love and the things that we love doing with the business side of the business that sometimes is a little less fun, and give you guys some of our tips for how to manage all that and walk that line. I'm excited to talk about this topic because I see this a lot with clients where maybe they're really into astrology and they love doing card readings, and then they make a business about it, but then they start realizing like, oh, I have to do like email marketing, and I have to do sales, and I have to make sales pages, and I have to do a website, and all of a sudden there's all these other tasks that are not that, especially for service providers. Like, I feel like that's probably for a lot of people, when you're starting, you'll spend the least amount of time doing services and the most amount of time doing marketing and those kind of tasks. So I'm excited to talk about this topic. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. And while they're doing that, I'm just going to make sure everything is working on the Facebooks. But Candace, you want to go first? Just let everybody know who you are, what you do, give everybody a little bit about your background. And then if you have any free goodies we could grab, we would love to hear about that too.
Awesome. So thanks for having me. My name's Candace Davies, and I'm the founder of yoursocialfunnel.com. I work with online business owners, and content creation is kind of my thing. Like, I love all things content. Where I'm finding myself lately is working with lots of business owners who are struggling to use their free content to actually move people into paid programs. And I'm seeing that in like lots of different ways, and how that's showing up from not knowing what to post to not knowing the difference between what should be paid content, what should be free content. But the bigger thing really is like, and how it all connects to like their businesses, so like, how does the content connect to the funnels and the email marketing, and like just missing gaps. So that's what I do. That's what I love to do. And yeah, you people can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and I've got all kinds of stuff floating around there, like a free mini course.
Tell us about the mini course. I want to know what's in that mini course. Candace, tell me more.
Cool. So it's called Overlooked to Overbooked.
Okay. Overlooked to overbooked. I love that. Nice.
And it really just,
for people that are struggling to get sales on social.
Correct.
Okay.
Like feeling like you're just invisible and no one knows about you. I'm sure lots of us know that feeling when you're just the world's best kept secret.
Just falling into a void. You've got to go. This is Overlooked to Overbooked. And you said it's a whole mini course they get?
You know what? Yeah, it's like a mini course. I didn't want it to be this like stuffed full of every single piece of information. It's a bite-sized mini course that just takes people through one exercise, showing them how they can actually create a piece of content that will move people to do something, not so like a high converting piece of content, so that sits on my Instagram highlights, and people are welcome to go and grab that. But
we'll put the link. Can we link it in the show notes? We'll put the link in the show notes for you guys. And you guys that are watching live, we always put the blog post up on Friday with all of the links. So we'll get everything to you guys. And then Brittany, what about you?
Oh, sorry. Okay. I thought I was so prepared. I held it over the button and I still muted myself. Hi, everybody. My name is Brittany Rolenich. So happy to be here. I am also a marketing and content nerd like Candace. That's why I was like, nodding my head, in her eyes, she was talking. Yeah. I love not just creating content, but I love the power it really has for people to figure out what their thing is and how much of a personal development journey it is to figure out, like, what do you believe? What do you want to put out into the world? Who are you, not just as a creator, but as someone who's here making an impact, leaving a legacy? I mean, we're leaving a huge online footprint, right? Which is kind of weird and also cool. So I love all that stuff. And I also have the Social Media Magic podcast. So if you know that you're trying to create more and kind of get your word out there, that's definitely a good resource for you. On top of all that lifestyle stuff, I also talk a lot about the tech part. So, when people say make a reel, it's like, okay, well, what does that actually mean? Like, well, what do I actually do? And when I'm on Instagram, which button do I push? And these are the things that people are often embarrassed to ask. And I break it all down. I have tutorials on my Instagram, Brittany Rolenich, so that would be helpful to you. And yeah, there's a lot of skills that go into content creation. It is a legit skill. So I love helping you with that. And I think that one of the reasons I was really drawn to this topic is when you have something that's so creative, which I'm sure so many of you are, right? You're all bloggers and you have online shops on Etsy and you're service providers because you're really good at something. It can be really hard to separate the things that you enjoy and the things you have to do. And how do you keep it fun when you talk about it like 8 hours a day? So yeah, I'm just super excited for this conversation.
Yeah. I want to hear from you guys your least favorite task to do in your business. Like, what's something you have to do in your business that you don't like doing? And then do you have any tips for like, how do you deal with it? How do you get it done? I'd love to hear your guys's. Mine is always, well, it's almost anything my assistant needs me to do in Asana. I have a VA and I joke like her job is like making me do the tasks that I procrastinate on. And she just literally has to go through my Asana board and message me and be like, do this task, do this task, do this task till it gets done. So maybe that's my type. Just hire somebody to annoy you into doing all the things you don't want to do. But I'm a procrastination queen. So I want to hear from you guys. How do you manage that in your businesses? What's like your least favorite task and how do you manage that?
That is a really good question. I have to say for me, it's like, I love thinking through things. So I've got like all the information in my head. I know how I want it to look. I know what I want to happen. And then it's like, okay, oh God, now I've actually got to go and freaking do it. Like I've got to go write the emails. I've got to go create the sales pages. I've got to go link everything. I have to test that the whole funnel's working. So for me, it's like, I love the thinking and the strategizing. It's when it then comes to actually breaking that down, because we all think, oh, it'll just take 5 minutes. I'll just quickly do, and then nothing takes 5 minutes. I think the thing for me that I've really learned about myself is the stuff that I naturally avoid for whatever reason. Like it's just going to take a lot of time, or maybe I have like a bit of an anxiety about it because I'm not entirely sure of every single detail. So I kind of start avoiding a task, which then makes me more anxious about it. And it kind of becomes this like thing.
Yeah.
The thing that I've really learned is actually it's in the avoiding that it starts to like snowball. So I start feeling more anxious about it, more nervous about it. And so I actually force myself, like first thing in the morning, to do the things that I'm actually avoiding first.
Ooh, that's a good trick. That's a really good hack. So if you're somebody that just hates posting on social media, or you hate doing your email, I used to do this too, actually, because I used to be terrified to be on camera. I know we can all like laugh about that now. On camera live like for hours every week now. But when I started, I was so scared about being on camera, and doing social media was horrible. And I'm like dating myself, but this was when Snapchat was like really popular. We were all on Snapchat. And so I would make myself I was like, I'm going to make myself pick up the phone and say something. And I was like, you can't have coffee until you post something on Snapchat. So I was doing the same kind of thing, I think, where it was like, I'm going to procrastinate this, because I knew I would procrastinate it all day. And I would just feel like worse and worse and worse about it the later it got. And it would be in the back of my mind being like, I got to go on Snapchat. I don't want to go on Snapchat. I hate going on Snapchat. I don't want to say, well, and I was just going to do that. And it was such an energy leak that I just put it to like first thing in the morning. And I was literally like, you cannot have coffee until you post on Snapchat. And then it was like, once I got that first one done, then sometimes during the rest of the day, it would like take the pressure off and I would like want to post there. Right. But when it was like, I have to post today, it was like, it would just like freak me out. So I'm with you. That's a good, there's a whole book about that, right? Like the Eat the Frog book. That it's like, just do whatever you don't want to do first thing, because otherwise it leaks your energy all day and it just builds and builds and builds.
Yeah.
And then what about you, Brittany? What's your least favorite? What's the most dreaded? Tell me the most dreaded task in your business.
Okay, this is going to sound it is silly, but I'm a service provider and I hate sending invoices, even though I know it is directly related to me making money. Like I literally have to do that to get the money.
It's an annoying task though. Like it is annoying, right?
It is. It's so annoying. So one thing I've also really found out, so like we've already kind of talked about like eliminating, like, do you have to do it, or like delegating it? Can you hand it off to someone else? Automation has been like my savior in the last 2 quarters, because I'm like, oh, I don't actually have to do that.
automation tools right now? Tell me more.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, even just in PayPal. So, I'm also a big fan of trying to find free things I can recommend to people because when you're in that messy middle of like,
Subscriptions are killing me lately. What is
Yes!
happening? Why is
oh my gosh.
I was like, maybe we should upgrade to Asana Pro, and it was like gonna be like $50 a month or something. I was like, what is happening?
Right. And it's like, it's not like you're paying just $50 a month. You're paying $50 like 8 times because of all the different things you have to. Yeah, it's wild right now.
Well, it's not just that. And then it's like, it's Airtable and it's like, it's very easy to like balloon subscriptions, I feel like, and just start bleeding all of our little hard-earned dollars, our little hard-earned entrepreneur dollars just bleeding all over these apps. So yeah, so you kind of work around in PayPal that is cheap, it sounds like.
Yeah, well, PayPal's free. So if you are a service provider, you can set up recurring invoices. You can set up like reminders to go out in advance. So that's something that once I realized that, I was like, oh, great. So when I have a new client, especially if I know I'm going to be working with them for 3 or 6 months, like I can just go ahead and set that up now one time. So I don't have to go do it every day because I'm trying to automate as much as possible. So that, and like, even just for this interview, like I got so many reminders, which I thank you Team Faith for all the reminders. I need them personally. So setting those things up.
Calendly automation, by the way, we don't send those.
Yeah. Or Calendly.
So this really goes into what you're saying. You're like, thanks for all of we set up we pay for Calendly, but one of the reasons we paid for that one versus other ones is it really allows you to set up really great email automation. So the team just goes in there and schedules all of it. And then when you have guests on the show, it's like, send them these emails, this email.
Right. And just imagine like having to pay somebody individually and having to tell them, okay, you need to send a reminder 1 day before and then an hour before and then 10 minutes before. And by the way, can you text them? Like it's so much. So that's another way to like save money and time is like automating. And then also really sitting down and thinking, what do I actually have to do? Because another thing, and I know Faith talks about this a lot, but it always helps to have the reminder is like, do you actually have to be doing that thing? Like, is that thing actually directly like going to make you money, or is it helping you generate leads? Is it helping you grow an audience? Because I think there are a lot of things we do that make us busy or feel like really important. I mean, I know I'm like, I have the biggest ego. Like I said, I'm a content creator. Like I love to have the eyes on me to be honest. But do all those things matter? And like, even with my own social media, like that has shifted how I show up over time and how I relate to people, how I think of the people watching my content has changed and evolved. So looking at the things that you do every day, like what do you actually need to be doing? Like with posting, because you mentioned that. A lot of people I think that I work with are just like, well, I know I have to be consistent. And so I have to post every day. And I'm like, well, do you? Do you have to post every day? Like, who told you that? Yeah. So anyway, there's just so much. There's so much there that I could talk about. But yeah.
You're teeing me up for my next question. So thanks.
Yeah, go for it.
I think a lot of times the people I see struggling with this that are like, I started this business because I wanted to do astrology readings, or I wanted to be a coach, or I want to do this, and now I spend like all of my time doing business stuff and none of the stuff doing the things that I want to do. And a lot of that is kind of in the beginning. I feel like it's a beginning kind of business owner thing that comes up when people are just starting their businesses. And I think in that beginning time, it can be really hard to figure out what are the tasks that make money. So I'd love to hear from you guys, like when we're talking about, I love, like, that's such a good tip, right, Brittany, about like, do you really need to do that and try to like keep your tasks, your business tasks from ballooning into like a realm it doesn't need to be in? And can you cut some of the bullshit admin stuff back? Can you cut it out? Like, do you even need to do it at all? Is like such a good thing to ask. But then how do you figure out what should be on that list? Like, what should those admin business tasks be? Do you guys have like vital things where you're like, make sure these 2 things you do, or what do you kind of think, or how do you suggest people figure out what their vital tasks should be?
Brittany, you were just talking about this. Don't you want to carry on?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Putting you on the spot live.
No, I don't mind. I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance to talk because I love to talk. Okay, so yeah. So I think honestly, lead generation. And when I say lead generation, I think like you have to be also honest with what actually works for you and what's working for you right now, right? Because that could be seasonal. That could be depending on what you do, right? For like your niche, your business type. So the things I found, and this also comes with time and experience, is going to in-person conferences and events works really well for me. When I can talk to people, I don't have like a lot of the mindset things, because even though I love social media, I still get, the mindset things that come up. When I meet people in person, I feel like I just have that chance to really show them my personality, my passion. And then also I'm talking just to another human, even though you're talking to humans online, it feels weird, right? So there's less judgment. Like it's just, I don't know, it works for me. And I've seen, like, because I track my stuff, like, okay, I went to this conference, I got 4 clients from there. So that's a good one for me to go back to again. Oh, I went to this event, you know what, or this work, like a networking thing, that wasn't so fruitful for me, probably not going to do that again. So tracking kind of goes with that too, making sure you know kind of what metrics you're looking for and measuring that. Bundles and summits, like for that, I actually do A/B testing. So for my freebies, and this is a little extra work, but I make copies of every single one. And so like I'll say, okay, face bundles are really good, by the way. You should all be in face bundles, because every time I do
a bundle, everybody apply.
yeah, you should do it, because I always get really awesome people that know, like, that get it, that need it. So that's really cool. And I see like, okay, like this person's bundles did really well for me. This audience probably wasn't a great match for what I have going on, or maybe they're, not ready for my stuff yet. So I think like you have to kind of think about that. Who is your audience? Where are they at? As far as lead generation, and then also time wise, because there are some things I would love to do. But like maybe that's longer term, and it's just not, I can't justify it right now. So I have a whole list of things that eventually I would love to do more of, and I just can't right now. And that is a skill in itself, putting your blinders on and being like, that's either not for me or it's not for me right now. And I just have to focus on what I can do. So lead generation, and then content. I am very consistent with my podcast. I have 2 episodes minimum a week, which is, I know that's a lot, but that's like my main place for nurturing, because I feel like every time I get messages from there, I get people who have like worked with me from there. So that is what's shown me that's a good use of my time. And yeah, like those are my core ones right now.
Yeah, this is what you're saying is like so important. And we talk about this in the mastermind a lot, but you're saying like, go like try things and then like look at the data and let the data decide if it's going to work. And what I talk about in the mastermind all the time and what I teach is like, I'm like, y'all are not fortune tellers. Stop trying to like, we all are like, maybe I should have a podcast. Do I think it would work? What kind of results do I get? And we try to like go into the future and like see. And I'll tell you, as an entrepreneur, like whatever you think is going to happen in the future, you have no idea. Whatever you think is, I mean, it's just not, it's like that saying like when God laughs at your plans or whatever. I feel like that's like 10 times true for entrepreneurs. Like whatever you think is going to happen in your business this year, just you wait. Because the universe always has like a whole different plan for business owners, right? Mm-hmm. So instead of trying to guess what you think is going to work or what you think is going to happen or what kind of results we spend all this time trying to like fortune tell. And I'm always like, human brains are not good at figuring out the future, right? So I always use the example of like, how many times have we planned the day and you'll like make your little plan and we have like my coffee in the morning. I'm like making my little plan and I call it like my productivity fantasy time where I'm like, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get that done. And then like I sit down at my desk, right? And it's like, okay, like, none of that actually happens. There's other things that pop up that have to be dealt with. And that's all fine. But that's just planning one day. So it's like, then we like want to sit here and like fortune cast the whole future of our business and how the podcast is going to play out. And it's like, human brains are we're just not good at that. Right. And so I'm always saying like, keep your head over your feet, meaning like stay where you are right now and just look at the data you have and then go get more data and let the data tell you if like, I like how you're like, yeah, I'm tracking like if I'm getting leads from the podcast or not. So I know, is this a good place to put my time or not? Until you test things, you're really not going to know where to put your time, right? You're kind of just fortune casting a bunch of stuff. And then what about you, Candace? What do you think as far as like figuring out, how do you figure out where to spend your time in the business?
I feel like this whole journey of being an entrepreneur and then an entrepreneur in the online space, like there's some stuff I hope people don't have to make their own mistakes to learn, right? Like there's some knowledge and experience you'll hear from coaches or content creators or people you're listening to, that I like really hope people can like take that they've been there, they've done it, they've made the mistake for you, right? And then there's some
Yes.
things I feel like are inevitable that we just have to learn experientially, you know. And like, I really like what Brittany was saying, because I think some of the stuff you only figure out because you're trying, you're exploring your options, you're seeing, you're putting yourself out there. And it's like retrospectively, again, you're only going to learn the lesson if, like Brittany and you have said, like your eyes are wide open, you know, like, okay, I did 5 bundles this month. Let me look at the data. Let me look at the evidence I have that is going to inform the decision I'm going to take going forward, you know. And I do think, again, you know, the topic of this talk today is like passion and profit. I think sometimes when we are so passionate about what we do, like, we just want to share it and we just love it. And it sometimes clouds our judgment. Like we go on feeling a lot, you know, like we just feel like, oh, we're doing so much and we like showing up and we're getting visible. But actually, if you just looked 2 months down the line at like what the evidence is telling you, sometimes the evidence is telling you it's been a big waste of your time. Like nothing came of it, you know? And so I do think, again, like when you're new in the space and you're going on podcasts or you're involved in bundles or you're trying this, and you've just always got to marry that then with like an eyes wide open kind of approach. Like at the end of the day, the business brain needs to kick in, which is all about like KPIs and data and evidence. And that's like a nice marriage. I feel like if you running with your passion and your love for what you do, because so many of the people we work with, I'm sure, are so brilliant at what they do, right? They like love and rightly so, like they want to share it with the world.
Yeah.
I think that's a great blend. If you can marry that then with like, cool, I'm also going to look at where I've been spending my time. Has it been worth it? What's the outcome of that? And then am I going to do that again? Like if it was good, great. If not, then I'm going to say no next time.
Yeah. I feel like time tracking is such a good tool for that too. And my partner, Matt, he's an attorney, but he just started tracking his time to see what he's doing for work because they're coming up on like evals and stuff. And he's like, oh my gosh, it's so good to be able to look at these are actually the tasks that I'm doing and what I'm actually spending most of the day doing. And and he's an employee, but even just doing that, it's like a lot of times we spend a whole day and it's like, what did I do today? Like, if you actually audit where you're spending your time, I think that can be really helpful. I know I hate doing it. I know it's annoying to do, but I do feel like it's really useful. And if you haven't done that exercise, like just do it for a week and see like, how many hours did I work on the business and what the fuck was I doing? And like, is that how I actually want to spend my time? And actually taking that time to like, look at those tasks, I think can be really, really helpful. Let me think of I didn't think of my next question because I was listening to you talk. Let's see. I would love to hear from you guys. Do you have any mindset tips for people that feel like, I really hate doing the business admin stuff? They're like, I just want to work with clients. A lot of people, I work with, they just want to work with clients. They just want to coach. They just want to do their crafts. They don't like doing that business admin stuff. Mm-hmm. And so how do you suggest people navigate that if they feel like that, where they're like, I started this business to do what I'm passionate about, and now I have to do all these admin tasks?
Mm-hmm. I personally feel like that is a great goal to have. Like if you want to work towards only doing the thing that you love, brilliant. But it might not be where you have to start off, because I honestly do feel like if you are a business owner, there's certain things you just have to know about your business. Like you can't delegate it. You've got to be in control. You have to know.
Don't outsource things you don't know how to do. Like
totally.
It will cost so much money. So much.
Yeah.
So much money.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in learn it first. Yes. Learn it first yourself. Know what is going on in your business. Know why you're doing what you're doing. Understand strategies behind what you're doing. And once you have got it nailed, then outsource. But you should always have your finger like on the pulse. You should know what's going on. But that's why I feel like it's a great end goal. Like if you can get to the point where you have a team built out and you've got all these incredible people working with you, brilliant. But in the beginning, it's important that you don't lose control and hand over control of your business if you want it to be a success. But again, I feel like that's also dependent on like, what do people want? Like comes down to what do you want from your business? And then based on what you want, then there's certain things that you just have to accept are part of that little package,
I think you just gave like a really great hack though, because if you're feeling like that and you're listening to this, you can take like your dread of whatever it is that you hate doing and use that to motivate your ass to bring money in. Because it's like, well, how much money would you need to have somebody in this spot? What would that, I would even like draft out the little job position and start making SOPs like with the intent, use it as motivation to bring money in so you can afford to put someone in that spot, right? So I do this in my business. If I know we need a team member, I'm looking at my numbers and I'm like, we got to bring in X number. We have to figure out how to bring in this much more money a year so that I can have somebody in this seat, right? And then we go to work figuring out how to make that happen. So that's a great like way to flip it, as far as like, instead of it hanging over you and being like, I hate doing this, it's like crushing me. It's like, can you flip it and use it for motivation for like, let me make money and put someone in this spot. And like, that's the path we're on now, is like, I'm going to have a customer service. I don't do any email in my business. That's like probably the task I hate the most. I do no email at all. So if the team needs my response for something, they just put it in Slack and I reply to them and they do all the email, right? And people think that's wild. They're just like, oh my gosh, you have an online business and all this stuff and you don't do any email. I'm like, no, I spend zero hours a week doing email, no email. But I can only do that because I have the money of which to do that. So I love that reframe where it's like, use the things that you hate doing to motivate you to hire someone and get that off of your plate. And I think that would be great motivation for people to bring in more money. That's a great reframe. And then what about you, Brittany? What would you say to people that are just like, I hate doing the invoicing, I hate doing the bookkeeping and the emails?
I know. My thought is me too, right? I mean, if I could and I've thought about this a lot, like if I could ideally do what I'm doing all day, what would that look like, right? And like, I'm a creator at heart. Like I actually love creating. I love, if I could just be a podcast host, if I could just be XYZ, I know what those things are for me. But I also know that it's a job. And I know that, like, I feel like that's like a sacrilegious thing to say because we're business owners, but it is weird.
Tell them the truth. Tell them the truth. Somebody
but it is. It's like, I get it because
you're having fun all fucking day. Like, is that what you think?
Right. Oh my God. It's work. And I feel so bad because sometimes I even like look at my own marketing and messaging and because I always want to be honest with people, right? Because I know like 2018 Brittany was like, oh, passive business, so I can just make money and never work again. That sounds amazing. And I mean, doesn't it sound
my laptop on the beach? And
yeah. Which, by the way, don't do that because you're going to get sand everywhere. It's like the most impractical thing ever. Anyway, right? It's like
I do that sometimes. I know it's bad, but we do live, we have a house in Florida by the beach. So I'm not going to lie. Every once in a while, okay? It is nice.
Yeah. I mean, and I travel a lot. So like, that's a big part of like my why for doing things. And that's like, I talk about it in my own content. And so I totally get that, but there is work. And I think that one thing, just accepting that just, kind of reduces the drama a little bit, because if you have the expectation that everything is going to be perfect and fun all the time, then yeah, you're going to be really disappointed when you have to do something that you don't enjoy doing. Right. Yeah. And so just accepting that it's work. And I'm like, and when I think about this compared to teaching, and how many things I had to do that I hated doing every day teaching, I'm like, oh, I will send an invoice if I have to. I will do that. When I think about the comparison of like other nonprofit work and like the really hard conversations, I mean, you'll have to have conversations with a business owner too. So, just prepare yourself for that. But I feel like those kinds of conversations I had to have, that I do not have to deal with now. When I compare it to that, I'm just like, I will take where I am today over where I was any day of the week. And I think looking at that growth too, because that's another thing is like, when you look at the things you don't want to have to do and you like look at where you want to be and like the kind of work you'd want to be doing, it's really easy to look at that gap and get down on yourself. So instead of looking at that gap, look at the other gap, looking back, right? Like, well, at least I'm not doing that. At least I'm doing this. Like my life is so much better now. And I think that there's this Don't gaslight yourself, obviously. I know Faith says that too, but there is a gratitude that I think gratitude does a lot for you. When you look at it and you're like, I am thankful that I have a client to send an invoice to. I am thankful that I have flexibility enough to be able to choose what I do for most of my day. So you know what? If I have to do something I don't like for 2 hours a day to do what I love the other 6, I'll do it.
That's a good point. I think sometimes we got to give ourselves those little tough love pep talks and give our brains some perspective, right? I always say I'm good at mindset coaching because I have a dramatic ass brain. My brain is so dramatic, and learning to manage it is not easy, right? And it just like, it loves to think how hard everything is and how it's going to take so long. And I'm like, is it that hard? Like, is it that hard? Like, sometimes I have to like really look at it and be like, is this so bad? It'll be like, we don't have enough time. I'm so busy. And then when I'm like, really like, am I that busy? Is this that hard? Are you really that overwhelmed? Like sometimes, yeah, but a lot of times my brain will just start telling me that stuff. And I'm like, that's not even really true. Like, I don't even really think that, right? And I can find other evidence for other things I would rather think. And then the other thing you said that I think is so important, and I teach it in the mastermind, is like optional layered additional suffering. So there's like the task you don't want to do where you're like, I don't like doing email, right? Let's say I just started my business and I'm back in the inbox doing all the customer service. And I'm like, I don't like doing email. And I started my business because I like coaching people and I don't even get to coach people. And I don't even like doing email. That's all optional, additional suffering. Like you can opt out of that. So there's like the suffering from doing the task you don't want to do, which actually most of the time is very minimal. The actual suffering is all this other shit we put on top of it. That's like, and this isn't even my passion, and I'm not even good at it, and I don't even like it, and why am I spending my time doing this? And I spend all this time on this business, and this, and this, and this, and this. It's all of those extra layers on top of it. When like just sending the email, it's like, yeah, maybe that's not your favorite task, but there's probably other layers of additional suffering you could clean up. Shout out to the mastermind if you want help doing that. I literally have a framework that we help you like minimize the optional suffering so you can have more energy and mental space back to focus on the things that you need to be focusing on in the business instead of having the pity party every time you have to send an invoice. I'm laughing because we all do it. This is just dramatic human brain stuff, right? Where it's like, it's so hard and it takes so long. And it's like, is it? Like, and if it's true, even if it is true, is it useful to think about? Like, probably not, right? You still have to send the invoice at the end of the day. Do you guys have any favorite? I'd love to hear like favorite tools. If you guys have any, like, do you have a favorite? I know I've been like using the Marketing Magic app. The girl was on it that made it, and it's like a ChatGPT skin that does your marketing. I've been loving that. Do you guys have any favorite apps or tools or anything? I'm always curious what people use in their business, or what's like your lifeline tool that's like, if this went away, my business the wheels would come off the bus. I love seeing like little behind the scenes of like people's business. What is like kind of your lifeline tool or a favorite tool you're using right now to get those tasks, the annoying tasks, done?
So actually mine are actually really simple ones. It's like nothing fancy. You've probably all heard of them before, but I'm going to explain why they've become my lifelines. Because at the beginning, when I was like, remember when you asked what is like your most dreaded thing? And I'm like, I've got this great idea and I know how I want it to look. And then I'm just like, oh my God, I've got to go build out a whole freaking opt-in funnel. And it's like a landing page, and then it's the form and the email sequence. And I would like, exactly like you say, optional suffering. I would have talked myself out of it because just
party.
just the thought of like, oh my God, I just want to create a piece of content and offer someone a resource. And before I know it, I've now got to go build out an entire funnel. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just opting out of this like let's complicate it. I'm all about simplicity. I really like to create things in the moment when I'm blah, blah, blah. Anyway. Yeah. So I was like, that's it. I'm just going to go over to Google Docs. Google Docs and Loom have become my best friends. And it's like, I literally switch on Loom and I'm like, hey, let me just talk you through what I'm doing here. I share my screen and I'm like, if you would like to see this, you can go grab it. I put everything on a Google Doc as like a lead magnet. It doesnn't have a fucking email sequence set up.
Tell people what Loom is just in case they haven't used it.
Cool. So Loom is like, it's like a screen sharing piece of software. I mean, I have it on my desktop and on my phone, and it basically records your screen. So you can have yourself in the picture, you can take the camera off, and it allows you to show people, like I often do like over the shoulders. If I've got like a client and I'm like, you know what, let me just show you how I did it for myself, and I'll just switch on Loom, record what I'm doing, send them like a 5-minute breakdown. And I've just started using those as like, if I am sharing something somewhere and I'm like, oh, by the way, I actually recorded this for a client the other day. If you want, I'll share it with you. It has become the biggest lifeline in my business because all of a sudden content creation has become a breeze. It's like,
guys, I gotta give a really quick Loom tip for you guys too. My favorite thing about Loom is like you don't have to upload the video, so you don't have to shoot the video and then like upload it. It's just there. So I don't know how to do that, but it's just there, and so and you can just have the link right when you're done. And so it's really great if you guys are responding to comments in a Facebook group, and you can, even if you don't want to screen record, you can also just do your face and like, instead of typing it out, do a video response. Or if you're responding to, if somebody asks you a question on an email, send them a video response. Especially if you're just starting, you need to start building those connections with people at a higher and higher level. And I think Loom is like a great way to really add extra value, and it sets you apart when somebody comes in your Facebook group and asks a question and you make them a personal video saying your answer, and it takes you no extra time than typing it out because you just hit record. It's already uploaded. You just drop the link in. So that's my favorite Loom hack. I think I got that from Kate Doster, like shout out to Kate, but a million years ago, but I've always done that. And I think it's a great, great little hack.
Totally. And you know what, like Brittany was saying, you know, she was saying how even in her, she does like the I call it like technical setup, you know, like it's not even about what content. I don't even know how to use Instagram. Like, can you just tell me, you know? I think the great thing about this is when we find pieces of software or apps that just make the entire thing feel easy, you know,
then you get time back to go do the shit you want to be doing, or to go do nothing if you want to do nothing. But to like minimize some of these tasks is really important. And I always say in the mastermind, I'm always telling them, I'm like, your business is a little time and money gremlin. It is always going to want more fucking time from you and more fucking money. And the more, and people hate when I say this, but the more your business grows, the more that's true, the more aggressive the gremlins are. It would be unbelievably easy for me to just spend an extra $10,000, $20,000 a month. So easy. I can't even tell you, because it's like, I have this aggressive gremlin of wanting more time and money from me all the time, right? And the bigger the business gets, the more customers there are, the more stuff is going on, the more time it wants from me, the more money it wants from me. And it's not a problem, but you have to have really strong boundaries about like, I'm only spending this much money a month, and like, this is what the budget is for the business, and this is what my time budget is for the business. And then making your admin tasks, you do have a lot of leverage over how long things take too, right? And so when you decide I'm only going to work 2 hours a week, 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, whatever it is, when you decide that, you make all those tasks fit, and you have to get faster. You have to get faster, or you have to find software that can do it faster, or you have to get a process that's faster. But I think sometimes people act like tasks just take the time they take, and like, I'm just the passenger here, and that's just not true. Like, times take how long you decide they take, and if you don't decide ahead of time how long that task takes, it's unlimited, right? We've all done it. We've all spent like 3-4 hours writing one email or something, right? It's like, it's easy to do. But I like talking about the apps and the software, because it's like, how do we keep those? That's what I use to keep the little time gremlins kind of in a little gremlin pen or something.
That is exactly, when we were talking about takeaways, that's actually one of the takeaways I wrote down was having, and this sounds a little esoteric, but knowing the life you want to live before you build your business around it. Because a lot of times
say more.
We let the business set our own schedule. Like, you know, and I'm like, and it's like when you say, you're like, oh, that's so simple, of course, but that is going to dictate some things when you talk about boundaries. Like for me, I realized I cannot take client calls when I'm traveling. It's just too stressful. What if the place I'm staying at doesn't have good internet, you know, and then it's like, I'm rushing home because I went out, you know, for a day tour or something. It's just too much. And I realized it's not a good experience for them. It's stressful for me. Why am I making myself do it? So, you know, what's easier is like putting on my calendar all the times I'm going to be traveling, and then saying like, hey, based on that, here's my availability. And I just don't include those other times. Yeah. It's such a simple thing that you can do. And I use TidyCal, by the way. It's a Calendly alternative.
Great software. Okay. That's a good one, because that one is affordable, right?
Yeah. See, I paid $29 one time as opposed to
lifetime deal, I think. You don't have to pay for it every month.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. Yeah. So it's $29 one time as opposed to doing an annual or a monthly subscription, which I know, like you said at the beginning, we're all feeling it. And by the way, I just came from a conference on the travel creator stuff that I do. And I was so surprised. I don't know why I was surprised, but these people who have like businesses are making almost $500,000 a year saying exactly the same thing. Like you just mentioned, as it gets bigger, and they're like, we're feeling it too. Like just because we're making money, it's just how you said, it just exponentially grows. So I think part of being an entrepreneur and innovator is finding creative ways to get things paid for. And I actually have an episode on my podcast, Social Media Magic, I mentioned it earlier, 5 free ways to get business help that are maybe like, if you can't afford a VA, can't afford certain tools, there's other ways to do it, which I know is not on the topic today. But I think building your schedule and your life first is so huge. Actually, I don't know if I can, maybe you can tilt the camera. Hopefully I don't drop it. Okay. So I actually put on my wall, I know.
Calendar on her wall for everybody on the podcast. So
yes.
calendar.
Yeah, I had to do that. So that's that's a more analog way, but related to that. So I use TidyCal for that. And then my tools. Okay.
TidyCal, just for everybody that knows, is it's like Calendly, right? So if people want to book a call with you or a schedule, it's like a really nice automated kind of scheduling app, right?
Yeah. So you put your schedule in, and there's like different ways you can do it. I know some people have work hours, like I work Wednesdays 2 to 4 or whatever. That doesn't work for me because I travel so much. So I have to go in like every month and say, what are the dates I'm going to work this month? And that's just so much easier, way less stress for me. Related to that, so I just said I do social media stuff, right? So I manage clients' accounts. I have my own accounts that I, growing for my own kind of influencer stuff. I used to spend hours, and this was clients' money too. So I wanted to find ways to save them money as well. I used to spend hours responding to people individually in Instagram. I had one client who has like 30,000 followers, a very engaged audience. Can you imagine? She's paying me 2 hours just to go and send her a message, this link thing, and then go and spend her comment saying, hey, I just sent you a DM, go check your DMs. And I remember being like, this part of my job is so boring. I wanted the creative stuff. So then I discovered ManyChat. And I am obsessed with how much you can do for automation on ManyChat. So if you're also a person that like reading the comments really kind of stresses you out, or like you're worried about not getting back to people, there's a free version of ManyChat, so you can look into that. And then there is like a paid version. Yeah. So I recommend that to everybody. If you're on Instagram,
like some software, like I'm all about, like if you can find a free workaround or a cheap version, I'm like about that life. But like some things are worth the money, you know what I mean? And so sometimes it's like worth it to pay if it's going to save you time, especially if you don't have money for a VA. A lot of times paying for better software or paying for a premium subscription or paying for whatever, like sometimes that is a nice way to fill that gap where it's like, I don't have money for a VA yet, but I could afford like an extra $10 a month to get a little bit of time back to automate some of this stuff.
Yeah, totally. I mean, so like for that client, it was a no-brainer. I'm like, okay, well, $15 a month for that, or you're paying me 2 hours a day. Like, of course, they're going to go for the tool. So I recommend ManyChat if you're going to grow on Instagram, which I know many of you are. Okay, Google Sheets.
Do a creator camp training about ManyChat.
Yeah, I need to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I just wrote it down. So yeah, Google Sheets. That's another one that I feel like it's not as sexy. Google tools aren't as sexy, but don't sleep on Google Sheets. There is so much you can do with it. I use it to create this beautiful dashboard for my clients so they can see a month at a glance what content is going on what day, which is really nice because it's free and you can basically do anything with it. You can even set up notifications on Google Sheets to like when someone changes it. So if you have team members going in and changing things,
or if you're doing it like with a client or something and you want to,
so you can get an email from Google that's automated saying, hey, so-and-so made this change. So that way, like if you don't have to go check it every day, you can just go check it when there's a change made, depending on how you're using it. And I'm obsessed with this. I actually sell templates in my TPT or Teachers Pay Teacher store for that. So any of you teacher creators, TPT sellers. So I love Google Sheets. And then Descript. Oh my gosh, Descript.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, okay. So if you create any kind of content, especially videos or podcast episodes, Descript, first of all, you can do one click and it takes out all of your uhs and ums and vocal crutches. Amazing. And then another thing is I just think about the time saved. I used to edit my YouTube video and then edit my podcast episode and then edit my blog post.
It gives you a transcript too, which is so nice. You used to have to pay. I feel like a dinosaur anytime I talk about this stuff. I'm like, you used to have to pay a VA to like do transcripts and like write blog posts about your podcast. It was like a really expensive, like that used to be really expensive to be able to do. And now it's like, you know, you can do it on these apps, which is so cool. We use Cast Magic and Descript for that stuff, but there's so many different ones. But yeah, Descript is great if you need to edit video and you're not tech savvy. I'm not tech savvy, but it lets you highlight the part you want to delete. It gives you a word transcript. So see everything. You can highlight the text you want to take out, delete it, and it will edit the video. It's amazing. It like takes all of that out. So if you do a video, a lot of times we'll do this with mine because I'll do a training and it has a pitch in it. And maybe I want to repurpose that training, but I want to take that pitch out. You can just go through the transcript. You would just highlight the part that's a pitch, hit delete, and automatically the video is edited. It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah. So you can just edit the transcript part. So the words, which I feel like is a lot more accessible for people than looking at the audiogram. You're like, I don't know what that is. But if you are a podcast editor or you do that kind of work for people, it has that in there too. So you can edit the transcript. And then if you want to go, because I'm also
we're in the future, y'all. We're in the future. We've arrived.
I know. It is. It blows my mind.
Anytime. These are all really great tools. And it's still going to be different for all of you guys listening. Like, the tools that are going to work best for you. This is just giving you some ideas, but you want to really start looking at what are the time suck tasks? What are the done little things that I do? Like, and then start looking and seeing, is there software? Is there a way to eliminate, you know, some of this stuff? Like even for us, like we update if people are in different memberships or different things in the business or buy different things. But I'm sure if we could automate that's on my list of things to do, is like, let's figure out a way that it just goes into a spreadsheet. So Kayla's not having to go in there all the time to update it, right? Like I know there's a way to do it. There's a way to do all that stuff. So it's just kind of figuring out what are the time consuming tasks that I hate doing, and then looking, and you can ask around too and post in my group. Like me and my team, like we check my Facebook group, even the free one. We're not as responsive in the free group as we are in the paid mastermind group, obviously. But I do go in the free group every week and try to answer questions. So if you guys ever want to ask like what software we recommend or what we use for something, or if you're looking for something, post in the group, ask in our group. You can ask like people in your industry how they do things. I'm nosy as hell. You guys know, like I'm talking to people that have been on the show. I'm talking to people I know in the space all the time, being like, what do you do with your team for this? And how do you guys do that? And like, you know, I didn't go to college for this stuff. Like nobody teaches you this stuff. You just have to figure out on your own. So anyway, there's so many good tips. Thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate both of you and your expertise and like sharing your time with us today. For anybody that just came on, can you just reintroduce yourself really quickly and let everybody know just quickly what you do? And then tell us where we can stalk you. Tell us your favorite places to come online and follow you so we can, I mean, everybody's always looking for good people to follow online, I feel like, so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm Candice Davies, and I'm the founder of yoursocialfunnel.com. I love helping people connect all the moving bits of their online businesses, but primarily
you're feeling like overwhelmed, or you're like, I don't know where to focus, like slide into Candice sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. How does this all work together? You know, people, I feel like often think about their online businesses as like they compartmentalize it, you know, like, okay, I've got my email list, I've got my website, I have my funnels, my social media. But if everything starts talking to each other and it all connects, for me at the heart, like Brittany was saying at the beginning, you won't believe what you will learn about your business through your content, you know? So for me, like at the heart of it is your content. How do you make free content that moves people into paid programs? So
that's
you can come down,
everybody, free content that moves people into paid stuff. So you're not just on a free content quicksand treadmill to that's not where we want to be.
Exactly. I call it a grazing pasture. Like you are not allowed to have a Facebook grazing pasture, you know, like a group where people just come and graze at your free content. That's the good area.
I've never heard that. I love that. Yeah.
So you can find me on Instagram.
Grazing in the pasture. We don't want that.
Yeah, exactly. can't have cows grazing in the pastures. We need to move people from
What's
our free
your
content.
favorite place to hang out, Candace? You don't have a podcast, do you? But you do like Instagram.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, at Your Social Funnel. I'm on Facebook, YouTube. I've just started a podcast. So, and actually the podcast.
I want to do a YouTube channel. I'm looking at everybody's YouTube. Like, what's everybody doing on YouTube these days? I gotta check it out.
You guys will have to come on my podcast.
What is your channel on YouTube? It's Your Social Funnel.
Yes, Your Social Funnel. Yeah.
The
podcast is going to be called like a play on the Grim Reapers, but it's actually going to be called the Grit Reapers, which is like the truth behind what it takes to be an online business owner.
Yeah, I'm dying. Oh my god.
I
just went off on Instagram this morning because I was just like scrolling my feed, and my feed on my business account, it's like, oh, you love like hearing about making money online. Here you go. And it's literally like a curated, like the worst fucking business advice I've ever heard. I was literally in bed this morning. There's a video of me on Reels, like no makeup. I'm in bed having coffee, and I'm just like, this is the worst. I was like going off on Instagram today. So we'll follow you on Instagram then. Is that your favorite place to hang out right now? And then I'm gonna lurk on your YouTube channel. And we'll watch out for the Grift Reaper. Seriously.
That's so cute. I love it.
And what about you, Brittany? Where can we stalk you?
Yeah, so my little elevator pitch is I tell you how to list build with social media. So that's the overall gist of it. But I also love talking about the technical parts and then what you actually want to say. A lot of folks I work with have their Etsy shop owners, they're sellers on TPT. They're actually not content creators first. They are. I say they are, but they don't see themselves as that. So if you're into that, if you want to learn all about that, you can go to the Social Media Magic podcast. That is where I really show up all the time. And that's both on YouTube and all of the audio platforms. And then I'm also on Instagram. And by the way, I have a semi-static feed grid. So if you're interested in how that works related to ongoing reels, you can kind of look at what I'm doing, not just what I'm saying. And you can find me on Instagram at Brittany Verlenich. I would love to chat with you. I love talking about this stuff. So don't feel free to reach out if you have a quick question about something maybe that's been frustrating you. If you're feeling like you want to throw your phone, that's when you message me, okay? And we'll figure it out together.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys definitely slide into Brittany's DMs. She's good people. She'll give you good advice. They'll shoot you straight. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys. You guys that are listening, we're recruiting right now for the summer bundle. And so if you guys saw us do the Becoming Boss bundle, this is a bundle we're doing, and it's for B2C. So it's not business niches. It is, I'm looking for personal development people. I'm looking for health people. I'm looking for everybody in this bundle. So if you guys are listening to this, I hope you'll apply. Usually these bundles are only available, we run them, but they're for my mastermind. You have to be in the mastermind to be in the bundles. But this one, we're letting everybody come. So we want as many people as possible. I'd love to have all of you come. It's open to everybody in my community. And anybody that wants to apply. So if you know any brilliant people that should be in it, they need to get their work out in the world, come over there. You'll get email subscribers from being in it. Like I said, my team is great at doing these events. Kelsey on my team is like a genius at it at this point. I was like trying to get her to, I was on live the other day and I was like, how many events have you done? And she's like, I don't know. She's like 14 a year. Like we do a lot of events. So
Kelsey is a genius. I mean, like when I look at because I participate obviously in face bundles, and when I look at all the automations and the flows, I'm just like, wow, she really is amazing.
She's a ninja. She's a little, if you want to see some automation at work, get in my bundle and you'll see how smoothly everything goes. And that's all because it's automated and we have systems for everything. Anyway, the point is, we lost Brittany. The point is sign up for the summer bundle. And that's it. I will see you guys next week for another Power Hour. Candace, thank you so much. You guys go stalk Candace. It's my social funnel, right?
Your social funnel.
Your social funnel. My social funnel. Your social funnel. Yeah. You guys go stalk her. Tell her I sent you. I appreciate you for coming. All right.
Thank you.
I'll see you guys next Thursday. Bye, everybody.